Okay, so finding a nice, comfortable position where you can be relaxed and yet alert. And perhaps tilting the pelvis a bit forward and checking the spine, that it's centered, not leaning forward or back. Opening the heart, resting the shoulders on the back body. And extending the neck, so it's an extension of the spine, extending it upwards. And then allowing the body to soften, to relax, to whatever extent it wants. And we'll start with one sound of the bell. And allowing the attention to sink deeply into the body, noticing sensation throughout the body, and welcoming whatever's here. It may be pleasant or unpleasant or neutral. Noticing any bracing or defending, any wanting things to be different than they are, and dropping any effort to resist, any effort to defend. Letting in whatever's here, letting it move as it wants, completely surrendering to the energy of this moment. And watching it all from the seat of awareness, noticing that you're the one who notices. And becoming aware of when you're breathing in and when you're breathing out. Allowing the body to breathe naturally, letting go of any control of the breath. Noticing perhaps a feeling of aliveness with each in-breath, feeling of energy. And with each out-breath, a sense of relaxation, a sense of dropping any effort. Not trying to make anything happen, just noticing. It's all a game that we're playing here tonight. It doesn't matter whether you win or lose. The more you play, the better you get. So just enjoy the play. And if you'd like to count the breath, perhaps on the end of the out breath, please go ahead. You can count to 10 or to 20. You can narrow the focus if you like to wherever the breath is prominent, perhaps the belly, especially if you have a lot of thinking or restlessness, perhaps the area around the nostrils if you are feeling sleepy, if you're low energy. And breathing around the nostrils tends to provide a little more energy. Continuing to notice any resistance in this experience, in the mind or in the body. So there may be tension or restlessness or difficult emotions. So that's one thing. And then any defending against them, any resisting them, any not wanting to experience them, that's the resistance. It's a subtle difference, perhaps. Good. And now expanding the awareness to the whole body. Continuing to be aware of when you're breathing in and when you're breathing out. And in addition to the body, noticing expanding the focus to mental talk space. Usually somewhere around the ears. And now also including mental image space. So mental talk, mental image, and bodily sensations, including the breath. And watching it all from the seat of awareness. Continuing to recognize any resistance and dropping any effort to resist. Whatever's going on, it's no problem. This is just one moment of your life, and every moment is a gift to appreciate, to say thank you. To let it in all the way. And expanding the focus range to include emotional uh, emotional body sensations. And now expanding the attention even further to include sound. Noticing whatever sounds are there, just letting the sound come into you, not trying to listen for anything, but rather just letting the sound come in, or maybe letting the silence come in as well, noticing that. And opening the awareness up all the way. So any taste or smell, if your eyes are a little open, any sight, any seeing, again in a receptive gaze, not trying to see anything. Just noticing wherever the attention goes. We're completely letting go of trying to control the attention and just letting it go wherever it wants, but staying in that seat of awareness, being aware of whatever the object is of your awareness. Body, thoughts, sounds, emotions. And continuing to notice any resistance in your experience and dropping any effort to resist. Not engaging with any thoughts, you're just aware of them. If you notice yourself getting lost in thought, then when you notice that, a moment to celebrate and come back to the open awareness. To the seat of awareness. Nothing to do but relax and watch. Effortless. Wherever you notice that there's an effort, that there's a struggle, doing your best to drop that. But you never need to do anything. You don't need to drop it. You don't need to have no struggle. If there's a struggle, then just relax and appreciate the struggle. Notice the details of the struggle. Smile to it. You are not the struggle. You're the one who's aware. Just allowing awareness to hold the flow of experience. Hold it gently, tenderly, with love, with gratitude. And with curiosity. And repeating to yourself, may I be kind to myself. May I be kind to everyone I meet. And may they be kind to everyone they meet. And so on and so on. Feel the kindness moving out and out and out until it fills the whole universe. And with the sound of the bell, we'll bring this meditation to an end. So feel free to move however you want to move. Stand up if you like. Massage whatever needs massaging. Oh. Stretch whatever needs stretching. Ah, so who wants to share? Okay. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Hope you found it interesting. Um, so let's move right into home practice review. So you may recall that we most of the time since the last class, there was the meditation, meditation on emotions, and then we also I sent out the open awareness meditation a few days ago. And then we had moments of centered consciousness and small stuff, which of course are really the heart of this practice. Um, we had looking at the problem of the day and maybe even keeping a journal of the problem of the day. And then we had a talk about working with your inner energies. Um, so what was your experience like with the home practice? Oh boy, you've been away a long time, eh? Philip? Oh, and then Steve, sorry. Oh, I think you're muted, Philip. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said you meant Steve. I don't know what I heard
Oh,
there.
no, well, I sort of saw Steve's hand go up and and then you moved into the corner with the raised hand, so my attention went to you. But go ahead, Philip, and then Steve.
My daily problem is the same every day. But it's not a small problem. So, I don't know if this is a forum that I should talk about it or not, but it is my problem. And, the only thing I think I can attest to from the experiences that I've had in dealing with the small stuff is that dealing with the big stuff is actually no different. It's the same.
Mm-hmm.
And 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 so I just keep dealing with the problem, and I keep relax, let the pain come in, and wait for it to leave. But I'm also cheating because I'm taking painkillers. And, I guess painkillers is a way of resisting. But I'm at the same time, I look at painkillers as being part of the miracle that humanity has brought us to this point. Where there are different medicines or herbs or whatever you want to call them that help deal with pain, and I feel that I'm doing myself a good service in taking the pain killers. I don't know. I guess I'm looking for feedback on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Mickey sometimes talks about this is not renunciation, right? So there's no reason not to take painkillers if they're helpful, right? He's not saying you have to endure pain, right? Um, he's just saying if pain is there in this moment, then, don't resist it. But he's not saying don't do anything about it. And I mean, and it's totally up to you if you want to share the nature of your um, problem of the day, problem of the many days. Um, because I mean, and honestly, I think if people knew they would, you know, I think you taking painkillers is it's not at all a sign of a weak practice, quite the opposite. So, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the point I came to. I mean, I think a lot of people know that I'm dealing with cancer, and that it is stage 4. And I feel most of the time that I'm in acceptance, although I sometimes wonder if my acceptance isn't just a disguised denial, because and I can only thank this practice, is that the fact is I still enjoy life, and arguably perhaps I enjoy it even more. Perhaps I enjoy it even more, especially those spells, where the pain lifts, and it feels very liberating, I have to say, when the pain lifts. And I still do work with addiction, and I was talking to a struggling addict, and he said to me, and he knows what's going on with me, and he said that he has, why is he complaining? He said, "You've got it far worse than me." And I said, "I don't think so. I don't think I do have it far worse than you. Because first of all, I have my freedom. And I feel like I'm very close to the freedom that Singer is talking about. And nothing compares to that. And he was kind of surprised to hear me say that. I said, and I actually said to him, "I think you've got it far worse than me, far worse." Because you're still reacting to everything. I mean, that's what, to me, addiction is really just sort of like it's like a hyper-focused wanting all the time that has to be fulfilled. And, when Mickey talks a lot about personal preferences and how toxic they are, and I've begun to understand that. I've begun to understand it's okay to want things, but don't have any expectations around it. That it's going to make you happy. The only thing that makes me happy, the only thing that can make me happy, is this freedom that I now enjoy. And I feel that despite if I didn't have this practice, what I'm going through now, I just don't know how I would have handled it. And so I guess I've surprised myself. I've surprised myself in the sense that I managed to find a lot of joy, a lot of the time, every day. And, when the pain lifts, and it does quite a lot, but when it does, I don't think all this pain is related to the cancer either. I've got another issue going on that seems completely unrelated. It's in my leg, and it's the one that's bothering me the most. And when the pain lifts, I'm happy just to sit in a chair and look out the window. And just to me that's enough. And I'm just in deep appreciation, I feel, of energies that I've never been able to really hold on to for very long in my past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, thank you, Philip. Yeah.
Thanks, Philip.
Steve, did you want to go next, and then Adrian, and then Antonella?
Yeah, thanks, Laurie. Happy New Year, everybody. I had a meeting with you this week, Laurie, or this week, last week, whatever it was. And I thought I'd share with the group that I really appreciate the meditations And I love the idea where first starting with the breath, where to locate the thinking mind, the visuals, and the other senses, and the last one being open awareness. I just find it's a great progression, and it's helped me learn how to shift my awareness around. And so it's helped me in one area where the daily issue with the daily problem, I try not to make anything a problem, but the daily issue, for me, it seemed to be something else every day. So I'm trying to take my focus off the object and strictly look for resistance. So with these meditations, I find it's helping me, go to different places where I can see the resistance and identify whether it's in my mind, my chest, my stomach, different places in the body. And yeah, so that's what I'm doing now is I'm trying to sort of drop the object of my discomfort, whatever it is. And I mean, not discomfort inside, the object of my dissatisfaction or grumpiness, whatever, and just look for any resistance in my body. Because if I'm reading this correctly, I think that's the ultimate goal of what we're supposed to be doing is dropping resistance. So I'm finding it's very helpful.
Yeah, it's definitely dropping resistance. That is our goal. Yeah, when we drop the resistance, then the energy can move. The samskara can expend its energy and be released. If we're
Yeah, if I could just comment to Philip, I heard him mentioning about his cancer, and I've had the benefit of having a life-threatening illness of my own, and it's really, I say it's a benefit because life just is so valuable and so precious now. And yeah, no time to mess around anymore. It's sort of, this is life, experiential. And I belong to a group in Toronto that has many, many, many programs online. If I could suggest to Philip after the meeting or something, if he wishes.
I'm definitely open to that. Thank you.
Okay. I don't know if I could say it now or just at the meeting.
Sure.
Okay, yeah, it's called Wellspring.
Okay.
Wellspring.ca, and they have many, many, many programs online. And I've been with them for over 3 years, and it's just tremendous, unbelievable. It's all for free unless you feel like donating. And say it's a whole world of people that are in the same situation.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Great. Thank you, Steve. Adrian?
First off, I apologize for being late. And I wanted to share a little success, I guess. I've been working, as you guys know, on my aversion to the cold, which I get to practice every single day. And today, I was going with some friends to brunch. We parked, and it was like a quick, like maybe 20-meter walk to the restaurant. And I left my coat in the car. And as we were walking, my friend was like, "Oh, that's when you know you're born in Canada. The cold doesn't bother you." And it just struck me. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, that's so crazy that I actually hate the cold, but maybe I've released something, or I'm just, it doesn't bother me as much. It also could be that there's other things that are bothering me more, so I'm not noticing the cold. But I just thought I'd share that anecdotally. I'm noticing a difference with my relationship to the cold weather.
Wonderful. Thank you, Adrian. Anjanella?
Yeah, thanks everyone. Yes, Happy New Year. I'm so grateful to be back. Lori, I really appreciated having a chat with you, and there was a shift in understanding the practice, and I've had a few positive things happen in letting go of the small stuff, and I'm just, you know, I just quickly want to share one of them, and then I'd like to share another. And the one was coming back from the airport, being extremely upset with my son because of the communication of picking up, and I just felt this rage come up, and I've been in such a place of peace, and I just let it come up, and I closed my eyes, and I just felt the frustration. And then I took a breath, and then I visualized it just going, and the rest, everything was fine. When I saw him and he showed up, I was like, I was just so happy to see him, so grateful for the ride. There was no going over the communication. So that was, you know, that was like amazing, but just really letting me, you know, like feeling it. It was like, it was almost like little stars. I just saw the frustration. And the other thing was, just before I left on holiday, MasterCard unfortunately canceled my card without me really saying that they could do so. So I had to prepare to get on the phone and pay all my bills that were usually pre-auths. And I decided that I just wanted to do this joyfully and not allow any anger or frustration, and be, you know, nice with the people that I was dealing with, because it wasn't their fault. And by the end, and it took about an hour and a half to do all of this, the last person commented on my attitude and my behavior and the way that I was communicating in such an amazing way. And I really thought, you know, this is, you know, if I wasn't working on all of this, there's no way that I would have been able to do that. And he ended up giving me 500 air miles just because. And yeah, and just, you know, quickly, my whole trip was just about allowing whatever came in front, and just like, there was I made no plans. I just allowed my son to say, how about this? How about that? And I was like, I just let things go. And it was the most beautiful, peaceful trip. I mean, there was challenges, but it was good. So I'm really, really grateful. And thanks for letting me share that.
Wow. That's great, Antonella. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how, you know, I mean, more on this next week when we read chapter 15, but, you know, closing our heart is it's our mind, you know, we decide to close our heart, whether we do it consciously or unconsciously. And we can decide not to close our heart. You know, we can have that strong intention and close our heart a lot less. Yeah. And I think what, you know, your story, Antonella, really illustrates that. Okay. Anyone else have anything they want to share about the home practice? Any obstacles? Any questions? Oh, Bob, and then Karen.
I haven't been a very good student, so I haven't been doing much of the actual work, but reflecting back on the conversation I had with you a while ago, Lori, I was reading chapter 15 today, and you know, I've kind of noticed that I'm not fighting the author and trying to see where he's wrong and how this is impossible. I find I'm kind of just really enjoying it. And that's different for me. So that's all I wanted to say. Thanks.
Oh, thank you, Bob. It's nice. Karen?
Hi, Happy New Year to everybody. So my everyday and big problem is around this home that's being constructed. Crazy to have gotten into this, but anyhow, here I am, halfway or not quite along. So I've really worked hard whenever I'm out in sight and things are delayed and or they're not showing up, and just the typical trades kind of thing. So I decided to just become very mindful of this and practice the relax, release, lean back. But for the holidays, I thought to myself, I really need to have a heart-to-heart with this contractor, and I wonder if I can do it. And I could just feel like, I know I'm going to, pardon the expression, lose my shit on him, and then that will not be helpful at all. So I decided I would text instead of talk. And it was really interesting because as I'm texting, I'm really practicing hard and being mindful of the, everything I was writing, and also consider maybe where they're at. And I realized lots of pressures in the industry. And this, interestingly enough, the response I got from him was totally unexpected. And it was like the questions he were asking me was actually, he was becoming mindful. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I was just like tapping away thinking, this is wonderful. So P.S. Since then, the guys are sending me pictures and, Karen, here's our progress. And, we're on site today. This was not happening. So I guess the more to my story is that because of the practice, I think I'm approaching this whole thing in a very different way than I normally perhaps would, being the control freak and laying out expectations, which is just, setting you out for failure and disappointment. So thank you.
Yeah, it's great, Karen.
Yeah, thank you.
Josephine?
Hi, and Happy New Year's to everybody. And first, I just want to say that Philip, your sharing and opening up about what your struggle is was very moving and very touching. I just thought I'd say that it was incredible the way that you turned things around mentally in terms of how you're looking at your experience right now. Personally, I guess I should be telling you that I had a really big fail. It wasn't a good one. I did share it with Aaron, but at the same time, I feel like I can now look at it as a good learning lesson. So I was telling Lori that on our one-to-one that I was on the highway with my 3 sons, and it's only happened twice in my life, and I've been driving since I was like 16, where I got really badly cut off. Like this driver just decided he wanted my lane, and he just did. I don't even think he realized that he just cut me right off. Like if I didn't have the side shoulder, it would have definitely been disastrous, because the car was millimeters from my car. And my reaction was like, my heart just raced, and I was like in so much shock and anger. And my sons were all like, oh my God. Like they were like, it was pretty traumatic. We were really, really shocked. And I wish I could say that I did the relax, release, and let go, but I didn't. I got very, very upset. I wanted to catch up to him and honk him and tell him. He just moseyed on like nothing happened. And it wasn't a shining moment in my parenting skills. And I got really, really, really frustrated with this driver, and I couldn't kind of let go of it because he was so completely careless with our 4 lives. And it took me a long time to actually come down from that experience. But then later I finally did, and I thought about our course here. And the next time we were together to have dinner, I said to my sons, I was very, very honest. They're not kids, by the way. They're 17, 22, and 26. And I said, that wasn't my most shining moment. And I regret it because I'm really trying to do better. And I know that, you know, and one was like, oh, but mom, that was horrible what he did. That was so close. We could have all died. He didn't even know. And the other one was like, yeah, I know, but you know, we didn't. We're okay. And nothing in the end happened. You managed to steer us out of troubles without anything further happening. But in the end, I really tried to stick with what I'm learning in this course about learning to let go and just, okay, that was pretty tight. That was pretty scary. Nothing happened. We're safe. We're okay. And try to let go with it. And I think they all kind of like, you know, I feel like hopefully they took that with them and realized that, okay, you know, if she's working on this, we could too, kind of attitude. So I guess in the end, what I'm saying is like, even if we have a fail, there's still that learning opportunity, because if we can catch it and recognize, hey, we could have done a little bit better. We could have been a little bit more grateful instead of being so angry that something didn't go wrong.
Yeah. So what did you learn?
To relax, release, let go, accept.
But what did I'll put it to you in a so you saw what happened, you saw what your mind and body did. So what did your mind and body do in terms of our, you know, Mickey's teachings?
It didn't. I didn't. I got very angry. I got very defensive.
And
Yeah, very irritated.
right. There because you said something in there. You said, I can't remember the exact words, but something about you know, he could have, how could I accept, or how could I be okay when he almost killed us? Something like that. And that is a perfect example of the mind deciding, the personal mind deciding to close the heart.
Yes.
Right. So what you learned, you saw very clearly the mechanism of how we close. Right. And I should add, you know, this is not small stuff. Like almost getting killed is not small stuff. Right. Not anywhere close to small stuff. Right. So, I mean, you know, it's not a fail. The fact that you have a reaction is not a fail. Right. It was a very strong experience that anyone would have had huge fear come up, and generally often, and you know, combined with the fact that this person, you know, obviously screwed up in their driving, anger comes out, right? Anger is a manifestation of fear, but it, you know, in that case, there was a really good object of your anger. You know, someone threatened your life basically, and you responded with anger, and that's natural. But in looking back on it, you can see this is how I decide to close, because as your second son that you mentioned said, there was no threat at that point. There was no injury at that point. There was nothing wrong at that point. What happened was very momentary. You steered away from it, and everything was fine, except for the fear and anger that it triggered. right? So, I mean, it is a good learning experience, in terms of the power of the mind to close the heart. So, you know, because most people would look at that and say, I had no choice, it just happened. Right? And you did have no choice in the sense that the energy of the anger was much stronger than your mindfulness. Right? And it would be stronger than pretty much anybody's mindfulness in that, you know, in that moment. But when we, you know, when we talk next week about, you know, just deciding not to close your heart, you know, you can look at that situation, you could say, had I had the awareness and had I been given the opportunity to decide, do I want to close my heart? Do I not want to close my heart in this situation? Like, how would you answer to that?
Well, I don't want to close my heart. I don't want to be that reactive and that it takes me that long to calm down. Like it was, you know, and that is a sign of that closed heart. Like I was stuck in that. I was like, how dare you? You literally almost killed us. I don't
Right.
want to be stuck in that.
Right. So you would have rather had an open heart than a closed heart. As
Yeah.
soon as you realized. Again, it's not about the issue. The problem isn't the reaction. It's the response to the reaction, if you will. Right. And if the response to the reaction is to say, oh, I don't want to feel this, which those weren't the thoughts that went through your mind, but that's what was going on.
Yes.
Right. So, yeah. And it, you know, why would you ever want to close your heart, right? Unless your mind convinces you that I can't be happy because they did this thing wrong. They did this bad thing. So I cannot be happy. So we, you know, it sounds perfectly reasonable to a lot of people, but it doesn't make any sense in terms of your happiness and the happiness of those around you and really anybody's happiness. So great example there, Josephine. Thank you.
Bravo.
So we should probably move on to the chapters, if that's okay. So we're moving now into, I believe it's called part 4, going beyond. And so when Mickey talks about going beyond, he means basically going beyond our mind, going beyond the experience of our small self, if you will. So we're getting, and he makes very clear at the beginning of chapter 12 that what he's talking about is enlightenment. Okay, so you know, this is the deep end of the pool, right? And so he says, he starts off by, you know, in the chapter 12, taking down the walls, he says, well, you know, it's really hard to understand going beyond the mind when we're just in our minds. I mean, that's where we all live, myself included. So he gives you this this allegory of a special house. So did people find that allegory helpful? Like, what did you take from that chapter? What did the house represent? Anyone?
I love the allegory of the house.
Mhm.
And I've used a similar one myself where I talk about it as being a fortress, which then becomes a prison. So it was kind of a similar thing. But the thing that really, the very first sentence of chapter 12, he says, at some point in your growth, it starts to become quieter inside. And I really like that because that's exactly what I feel. is happening to me. It's getting quieter inside.
Yeah. Yeah, as we release the samskaras,
Yeah.
the samskaras that cause the chatter in our mind, because we're trying to find somewhere where we can feel okay. So yeah. Yeah. Anyone else? What does the, this house represent? Bob? Oh, you're muted, Bob.
Yeah, I'm getting some of that feeling. And so what I'm worried about is this taking me down a road where I don't care about other people as much as I used to. Like I'm that's their problem. I'm dealing with I'm living in my house. I'm trying to get outside the house and just watch the world go by. But yeah, so I feel more detached from people, even people close to me. If they got a problem, well, yeah, that's too bad, but they have to deal with it. I can't help them. I can't fix it. So it's just a thought as to, is that going to get worse? Am I going to become this detached, aloof guy in my own ivory tower? Or where does my humanity come back into the play, or how does that work?
Yeah. I mean, basically, like the attachment gets less, but my experience anyway is because the joy and the love get more. And so yeah, I mean, there isn't that feeling like, oh, I have to do this, but there's the feeling that I want to help. It's because like, of course I'm going to help, if I can, and if I can't, I can't. But when you have love, when you're in a state of love, when you're in a state of joy, of peace, connection comes easily.
My partner worries a lot about everything, and that's I'm trying to just let go of that, but that pulls me in a little bit, right? And I don't want to worry about it, and I don't really worry in the same way. I never have, but this helps me worry less.
Yeah. Well, of course, the practice here is not to try and worry less. It's to let yourself feel the worry, whatever worry comes up. So it's a little different, right? And so, and the idea is that when you just let the worry come up, when you just let yourself feel it, then worry becomes less of a problem because you're not afraid of it. And by releasing your samskara, over time, the worries go down. But in the moment, the idea is just to let yourself feel the worry. Don't resist it, and don't worry about worrying. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, I mean, and what he talks about in this chapter and in the next chapter even more is this idea that what the house, what the fortress, if you will, or the cage is made of is our psyche. It's our beliefs, our thoughts, our model of the world, right? Our model of the world is all the ways you identify. For example, he talks about that you find out that you're adopted, right? You had identified as being like, I'm my parents' biological child, and then you find out that that's wrong. And then it's like, oh my God, and all of a sudden your model of the world doesn't match the reality, and it throws you for a loop, right? And this can happen. I mean, a big example of this that I'm sure affected everyone here was COVID, right? Our model of the world is, you know, I can get close to people, it's no problem. I can be in a room full of people, it's no problem. I like being in a room full of people. I like hugging people. And then all of a sudden, COVID comes and it's like, what? What? It really, like, that model was really challenged at that point, right? Because it had to change. And the only reason we have a model is because our mind can't handle the complexity of the world, the uncertainty of the world, the fact that every moment is the result of infinite causes and conditions that we cannot possibly keep track of. And so it is inherently uncertain, the future, right? And that is can be, that's very disorienting, basically. And what we're learning in this course is how to get comfortable with that fact, right? But in the meantime, we still have this simplified model of the world in our minds that's going to come in conflict with the reality of the world, inevitably. And so, and the admonition here is to let your model go, right? Letting the model go is like letting the walls of the fortress be destroyed, letting the sunlight in. Because we think that the walls are protecting us, because when we get close to the walls, we get disturbed, right? It's like he talks about the electronic dog fence, right? And when the dog gets close to the electronic wall, it feels this discomfort of the shock, the electric shock that the device is doing. And Mickey says, if that dog really learns to get comfortable with the discomfort of that electronic dog collar, inevitably that dog will learn to go past the fence. That dog will be free, right? But you have to be willing to go through that process of getting comfortable with the discomfort of being at your edge. And get comfortable with letting go of yourself. Because you identify the psyche as yourself, right? You identify your beliefs about the world as yourself. For example, when Josephine shared her thing, Josephine has a model. We all probably share this model that says, when I'm driving down the highway, I have the right to this lane, and nobody should be like veering into my lane, like where I am, right? Because that's super dangerous. So people should not be doing this. That's my model. And so when the car comes into the lane and Josephine has to take defensive measures, her model was threatened, right? Because the reality did not match the model. And because we identify with our model, it's very upsetting and disturbing. And it's like, oh my God, what am I going to do? How do I get back to safety? How do I fix this hole in my model, right? And the admonition is, don't fix the hole in your model. Let your model go. Let the reality destroy your model.
I'm confused about that in reality, how that looks in terms of, yeah, that's nice in theory, and I've built a life that's comfortable in certain ways, and then that theory of this let it go, it seems rather careless. Like, am I just supposed to put myself in these positions that push my limits every day and go through the fear and get comfortable with that? But then that seems like a pushing the universe kind of thing. Like, if I'm just doing to get to let go of my model, I'm a little confused about like what letting my model go? Like, am I just supposed to drive like an ass on the road and cut everybody off and see how that feels, and, you know, let people cut me off? You know, it's like, I don't know what that means. Like, I know I built a comfortable life built on my model, and it, you know, I just don't know what that means.
Yeah, well, you know, if you take your model to the limit, Josephine, if she really wanted to stick with her model to the nth degree, should not have yielded her lane. Right? Because her model says this is my lane and nobody should be going into it. But she did actually kind of let go of her model there because she let the guy into the lane. So it doesn't say that you should change your model to, you know, it's a free for all out there and I can do whatever I want. That would be just replacing your model with a really bad model, right? What it says is that I should recognize that the reality is that people sometimes are going to come into my lane. And so I'm going to obviously take defensive measures, but I'm not going to be attached to the idea that everybody should drive exactly how I think they should drive. Even if my way is actually the best way, I'm not in control. So it's just accepting that and saying, you know, I'm not going to demand that everybody follow my model, because doing so just causes me to close my heart, basically, when there's a conflict, right? And you know, and so you know, letting go of your model means basically practicing relax, release, lean back. It means when your model is challenged, not trying to defend it, but rather just letting the reality in. But that, you know, Mickey does say, like, you are like this dog who's sort of getting closer to the electronic fence and not turning away and just sort of just getting comfortable with the discomfort, right? So because what happens is that when you start letting the samskaras come up, they keep coming up, right? And you're releasing them, which is great, but you're in this, like, it's not the most comfortable thing. And my experience is not that I'm always in discomfort or anything, but I mean, it is it is a process. There's this purification process, right? He talks about the fire of yoga. I think he talked about that back in the chapter 5 or something, but you know, and you know, like, ego death is really scary. Anytime you get close to that, you know, giving up something that you really identify with, it feels a little like dying. I mean, I've never died, so I don't, but it feels pretty scary. So you don't have to worry about, like, it doesn't mean that you just go nuts and become a terrible person. Quite the opposite. But it does mean that you let go of a lot of these ideas of not so much how you would like the world to be, but just letting go of the idea that you can control anything. Like, you can influence, you can do, you know, it's not saying don't work for whatever cause or whatever, you know, justice or anything like that. But it's saying always recognize you're not the one in control, and that the world is a much more complex place than you could ever understand. Because we're just, I mean, I can't even, the more I practice, the more I feel like I know nothing. Like, my knowledge is so teeny in the context of the world. You know, so I'm just focused on, like, how do I work with myself and what little things I can try and do but I don't have control, and I certainly, can't make other people do this or that. I can help people to the extent I can, but I can't control them. You look unsatisfied, Patrick. Which is fine,
Well, I guess I take it as like a challenge to like, and maybe this is another model of my world. I mean, I've had life coaches where it's like, okay, I'm afraid to do this. Well, you're going to go do that. And you're just going to feel the fear. And, obviously the world throws in my face some things that force me to come in contact with some scars and, challenge me to do this work. But that doesn't mean I'm not living in a very comfortable little bubble that I've created for myself. And so to let go of all that seems like death, but sometimes when those coaches are like, okay, you're going to go do this thing that terrifies you, it's like, that seems like death. And then you get on the other side and you're like, oh, okay. So I'm like, I'm not ready to just like go throw myself into all these situations, but I guess I just don't know, like, if I'm just supposed to sit back and let the world come at me, or I'm supposed to start changing things that make me uncomfortable, or.
I mean, first of all, like your coach said, just let yourself feel the fear, right? Which is the same thing that Mickey says. He says, don't let the fear stop you, right? So it's not that you're, living a comfortable life and you should start living an uncomfortable life and, sell your house and give all your money away and go live on the street. It's not saying that. It's saying, don't be afraid to speak your truth. Don't be afraid to do the things that are in line with your higher self, even when they're scary, even when your lower self is screaming no, right? That's the hardest thing, is to live a life of, being in integrity with your higher self. That can be really scary. I see that all the time in my own life. I have a hard time telling people things that I know they don't want to hear. I have a hard time being completely honest and candid. I try in a kind way, but even in a kind way to say, when I feel like I'm risking something that I'm attached to, right? And it's letting go of that attachment. It's letting go of the, afraid to feel fear or anger or loneliness or whatever it is. And it's living a life of fearlessness, basically, right? Fearlessness, not in the sense that there's no fear. Fearlessness in the sense that you're not letting the fear stop you. So you're not afraid of, you're not letting the fear control you. So the fear is there all the time, because you're saying, I don't care if fear comes up, I'm going to do it anyway, because this is what my higher mind says. This is the person I want to be. So it's letting go of all this lower mind stuff so that you can be the person you want to be. Recognizing that you have no control over anybody. You do what you can do, and however it turns out, you keep your heart open. To the extent you can. We're building our capacity, right? We all have limited capacity. We all have some scars.
Thank you.
Yeah. Philip?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, even before I started reading Singer, I had come to the understanding that my psyche is a massive defense mechanism against the world, which sometimes made me feel comfortable, but also very often stopped me from really participating and enjoying in the things that I really believed in and wanted to do. And so I was living a defended life. And so that's how I see the metaphor of the house. It's just changing that relationship between the awareness of my psyche and the psyche itself, and trying to shift the, I guess, trying to magnify it, not magnify it, trying to make the awareness bigger and the psyche not as big. I know it'll never go away. I mean, I know it's always going to be there nagging at me and prodding at me at times. I mean, it's part of being a human being is having the psyche. I get that. But what I want to change is the dynamic relationship. I don't want it to be running my life anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want those crazy thoughts that that I identify, you know, when Mickey talks about the voices inside my head, they were running my life. I had no break from it. I couldn't deal with, you know, I didn't realize there was another way to deal with things. And so that's how I see it as a shift. Yeah. You know, shifting into awareness and into the light. I mean, I like the fact that Mickey talked about there is no darkness out there. There's only light. The only darkness is inside the walls of your house. Mm-hmm. And, you know, so, you know, he uses that metaphor of the, you know, infinite light outside of the house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You don't have to give up the house. He's just saying, try going outside.
Yeah.
and yeah, open the windows. Okay, so Marina, and then we need to move on. So yeah, thanks, Philip and Marina.
I just wanted to say I'm so glad we're all here together, and I'm really glad that Philip has been learning so much from Michael Singer. I'm just so grateful that he has this group and that we have him and everybody here. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Marina. So, so we're going to do some breakout groups now. And the topic to share about is what views or preferences keep you caged? So, you know, what aspect of your mental model or your psyche, which is views, preferences, beliefs, you know, likes and dislikes, wants, not wants, what aspects of those keeps you caged, keeps you from being the person you want to be? Is that clear to folks? Yeah. Okay. So let's see here. Okay, so here we go. Oh, I joined the group because Adrian hadn't joined yet. Anyway, there we go. I'll let you guys share.
Okay. Adrian, how's it going?
Sorry about that. I was just using the bathroom. What's the topic? What are we chatting about?
Oh, the topic is what views or preferences keep you caged? So what are your walls made of that are keeping you caged?
Yeah, well, Patrick, what you mentioned made me think immediately of my preference that I'm kind of struggling how to apply this philosophy to. I have a preference for a monogamous relationship. I have this model of like, this is going to make me happy. And what's causing me so much disturbance right now is my ex-girlfriend. We had a 3-year relationship. She's kind of coming back into my life, and we're hanging out, seeing if we can make things work. And I feel like my model is very threatened, and I feel very scared of it not working out with her, something happening, or just having a lot of jealousy and a lot of trust issues, which cause disturbance. And I'm not sure how to apply this philosophy to it, because one way would be to just completely drop the model and be like, you know what, she could do whatever she wants and sleep with whoever she wants, and that's totally fine, and that's just a preference I have. I'm just going to let go of that. Or another way of reacting to it would be, this is a preference, and I'm going to let go of her as she's not perhaps suitable for me, and I'll find somebody that fits my model better, because that's a really hard thing. It's a really hard one for me to let go of. I think that model, that's probably like one of my strongest things, and one of the things that causes me the biggest disturbance in the last year, I'd say.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Yeah, I see that a lot in I'm gay, and I see a lot of that in my world of open relationships in that world. And yeah, I don't know how people emotionally kind of handle those situations without communication. And yeah, but that does go back to what I was thinking of, just like letting your whole model just be, just let go of your whole model and just sit in that uncomfortability. But yeah, I don't know what the answer is to that.
Yeah. Do you mind if I share?
Sure.
Yeah, this is very interesting, because this has actually been an issue for me. This very thing. Because I'm in a coming up on 13-year relationship, and he wants an open relationship, and I've said it's okay, because he had very little experience before we got together. But it does bother me. And recently he came home from a 3.5-week trip to Antarctica, and I was missing him so much. And then when he walked in the door, he tells me about how he like fooled around with this guy on the plane. And I just went, I was like, oh my God, right? And we had a talk, and so where I'm at is basically, just trying to be with the feelings, and to, let myself feel them, and to, really work on what I realized is that, we need more communication in our relationship to understand each other better. Because when I really understand him, my heart just opens wide and it doesn't bother me. When I'm focused on myself and my worries about, is he going to leave? That's when it really bothers me. That's what it comes down to, is this fear that he's going to leave. It doesn't actually bother me that he's fooling around with someone else. It bothers me because I'm afraid of the implications of that. So, but this is where I'm at. That doesn't mean that's the right answer. Like for me, it's this letting go, and being willing to be honest, and being willing to express how I feel, even though part of me is worried that he's going to say, oh, well, if all you want is monogamy, then I'm not the right guy for you, right? I'm worried about that, right? I'm worried about, and I don't know what the right answer is, right? So it's just, you know, Mickey talks about non-doership. He talks about this idea that you do, like, at the end of the day, it's just like, you know, feeling in the moment what to do with where it's not driven by your personal mind at all, but it's driven by whatever the moment calls for, right? And there's no right and there's no wrong. It's just, you know, where can I feel in balance? And if I really just let myself experience whatever's going on, the fear, then I realize that it doesn't matter what I choose to do, right? We make a big deal
And
out
do
of
you express that? Do you express that to your partner? I know what's his name said, Michael said, you know, don't play with those emotions, don't like feed those things, don't. So do you express those things, or you just like kind of let them go alone?
Well, you let them you know, do their thing. You let yourself feel them. And when I'm in a better state, when I'm not so focused on myself, when I'm feeling, you know, solid, when I'm feeling, you know, maybe some joy, some love, some whatever, then, you know, I can have the conversation with Bob. You know, and I can ask myself, like, what do I want this relationship to look like? And then I share, I mean, I just have, you know, and then I share with him, this is what I want our relationship to look like. What do you think? Right. And, you know, I'm not trying to force it on him, but I'm saying, like, this is how I felt in this situation. And this is what I did. And I want to know where you're coming from. And it's only when I share with him that we can actually, you know, from this place of, you know, I'm not worried about myself, right? As long as I'm worried about myself, it's my personal mind who's in charge. So, you know, that's the key thing. It's like, it's always, the mind wants to know, and we think that we have this question and we think I have to figure this out. And it's like, you know, when you let the stuff pass through you and then you're in a state of peace, the question doesn't, it's like, it's not that important. Do I stay or do I go? I'm happy either way. Let's just have fun. Let's just see where it goes. If I do this, let's see where it goes. If I do that, let's see where it goes. I don't have to, you know, my happiness is like, this is not the thing that's going to determine the happiness of my life. You know, it's the letting go of resistance that determines the happiness of the life.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a interesting discussion there. Anybody want to share about that? Yeah, maybe like you could just share like whatever your views or preferences are, whatever keeps you.
I just want to say to Josephine, our discussion for a small amount of time centered on the fact that you did not have a fail. We were still processing your story about the car, and that we just thought, oh no, we thought the fail would have happened if you had chosen to follow that driver, right? And, you know, honk the horn and get, so no, you've been way too hard on yourself. I think we thought that what limits us and that blocks us is definitely that it's self-imposed. Like sometimes we think it's what other people have said or done, but it really does come down to what we're choosing to believe about that, and we're choosing our reactions. So we have, I guess, some control over that, right? So if there's any cages, it's that we've put ourselves there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Yeah. And the only caveat I would add is with enough mindfulness, we have control,
Yes.
right? When
Yeah.
the mindfulness is not as strong as the reaction, then we're on autopilot, basically. we're lost. Lost in our emotions, right? In our thoughts, our
Mhm.
personal mind. Yeah.
I'll just go quickly. I
Mhm.
like things to be where they're supposed to be. It drives me crazy when people come over. I've had tons of visitors. I love them all. But I find myself momentarily becoming disturbed because things are not where they're supposed to be. And then I catch myself, and I just lean back from it and I remind myself how much they love me and how much I love them, and how little it matters whether or not things are where they're supposed to be. I will find them sooner or later, or I can always pick up the phone and ask.
Thanks, Philip. It's great. Bob?
Yeah. The first thing that came to mind was, what keeps me caged. Well, I would say my partner keeps me caged, to a lesser and a greater extent. As Philip just said, I come in the house, I put my keys on the counter, and I go to look for my car keys. 10 minutes later, oh, they're not on the counter. Well, no, they're where they're supposed to be. So I said, well, where's that? Well, there's another spot that, so those sort of little things, there's lots of those little things. Some bigger ones in that same category, I have to say.
Can I make an observation there?
Yes.
So the issue there is not your wife, it's your mental model that says my wife shouldn't do that.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. And the mental model also says if she was as strict with herself as she is with my stuff, then I could accept it better. But again, maybe that's just me. The bigger thing for me is what keeps me caged is my fear of what I think other people will think of me, depending on what I do or what I say or what I wear or whatever. That's that. And since this course, I feel I am stretching those bars open a bit more, and I'm just letting them hang out more. So I'm happy about that.
Great, thank you, Bob. Okay. Are we okay to move on? Yeah. Okay. So so now we're going to do our little exercise. But first I just want to introduce it. By the way, did anyone here listen to the talk that I sent out the other day about discipline? Yeah, a couple people. No, okay, a couple people. So Mickey talks about how just making a decision and sticking to it will inevitably test our practice, if you will. Like the personal mind will always change its mind and decide that whatever we decided we were going to do, there's a reason why we're not going to do it. And often, like you might decide, you know what, I'm going to get up every morning and go for a walk or meditate or whatever. Or I'm not going to have a snack. I'm not going to eat so much chocolate. I'm not going to watch so much Netflix, whatever it might be. And then, say you decide you're going to get up every morning, go for a walk. And then your alarm goes off and your mind says, I really don't feel like getting out of bed. I really don't feel like going for a walk. And so working with that is a really great way to learn to disregard the personal mind, right? And not only to disregard the personal mind, but there'll be an urge, an urge to stay in bed, or a feeling of aversion to doing whatever it is you wanted to do, or an urge to do what it is that you said you weren't going to do. And so just letting yourself feel that is the key to, sticking to what you decided in terms of action. And the great thing about action, like in action is easier to work with than emotion in a way, because success just means not doing it, no matter how much. So, you can have, I remember being at Temple of the Universe, and somebody sharing their, they do this Saturday night, they do this go around, everybody shares, and Mickey gives his little 2 cents on each person. And, someone shared how they, they decided not to smoke, and they had all these urges, and it was, it was a big struggle. It was a big struggle. And how it was so, this guy felt like he wasn't doing well. And Mickey said to him, "Did you smoke?" And the guy said, "No." And Mickey said, "Fantastic." That's perfect practice, right? So the idea here is to, just to decide to either do something that you'd like to do, or refrain from doing something that you'd like to, not do, whatever, just based on whatever your idea is of what you'd like to do or not like to do. It should be, a habit that you think either takes away your joy, or could create some joy. Something that you want to do, but it's again, on the intensity scale, it's not the most difficult thing ever. It's moderately difficult. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but it's not super hard, right? It's just something to practice with your urges, and to practice setting an intention and sticking to it, right? You set an intention from your higher mind, and then you have to learn to say no to your personal mind. When inevitably your personal mind will say, "I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that thing that you decided." So the idea is to set your intention, and to make this a game, right? It's a game. And to be like the dog who wants to be free with the electronic fence, right? To be willing to sit through whatever aversion or urge might come up, as you try and stick to your, well, you can call it a resolution, I guess. I hate to call it a resolution, because it's not really like a New Year's resolution. It's kind of like it, but it's, we're trying to keep it something moderately difficult, not, not the the thing you've been wanting to do that you think will change your life. It's just something small. And of course, when the urge comes up, to notice the particulars of the resistance, right? To relax, release, lean back with the urge or with the aversion. So our little writing exercise is think of a couple of things that you might do or not do to create this, call it true joy, because it's not just a momentary joy. It's like a longer, something in line with your higher self. It's not just like eating a bucket of ice cream. So, just spend a few minutes thinking about what you might want to do or refrain from doing. And I would suggest you also write down like what you would get out of following through on this. So we're just going to have a short breakout now, so you can share with your with whoever's in the room what you might what your little mini resolution might be. Does that sound okay? Or, okay, here we go.
Or did you?
Yeah, she was giving me a kiss. She wanted attention.
How beautiful.
Sorry.
How beautiful. No, that was beautiful.
Thanks. Okay. We have Laurie as well. Hi.
Oh.
Hello.
Right. So do you want to only share one, right? Not.
Share as many as you want. We just have about 3 or 4 minutes.
Okay. Do you want to go first, Marina, or do you want me to?
If you want to, that's good. If you,
Fine. I don't. Yeah, you can if you want.
no.
No? Okay, I will. Indecisive. Okay, that's what. Okay, I'll write that down. Be more decisive. Okay. No. Go to bed early is my big one. And turn off the TV and don't watch a show that I'm wanting to watch the next episode or whatever. Turn it off and go to bed early so that then I will wake up earlier and rested instead of feeling tired and not sleeping well.
I wonder if you could set a time. Make it very
quick. Yeah, I go to bed by 10 o'clock or 10:30 even would be a good one because I'm up till midnight or 12:30 and I'd like to be in bed 10:30 would be fine.
Okay, great. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Make it concrete. I'll mention that when we go back.
Yeah. Yeah. So 10:30 seemed like a good time. And I think to break that down, I got to do my bedtime routine like I used to do when I got lazy, like pajamas on, brush teeth, wash face, do everything. And then I can watch a show.
Yeah.
So I can get right into bed instead of watching all the shows and then having to get up and go wash my face and brush my teeth. And then, oh, I'm awake.
Yeah. And for how long do you want to do this?
Forever.
Well, but just pick a time.
pick a time, or if I do it for 1 week,
Sure. Yep.
is that good?
Mhm.
Is that what you mean by pick a time?
Yeah, I just, when you say forever, it just,
Yeah,
it seems,
too hard to.
yeah.
All right, 1 week. Thank you.
That's great.
Thank you.
Very motivating. Mine is the opposite, kind of. I need to have and want to have a spiritual routine in the morning. It might be journaling or listening to one of Mickey's talks. But instead of what I do, and I think Lori remembers me, I watch like morning TV, and it's the same thing every day, and it's sometimes a couple hours, and it's awful that I don't get anything out of it. It doesn't bring me joy.
Mhm.
And the meditation, or not really meditation as much as journaling, doing something that would set my day in a much better way.
Mhm. And can you put concrete, times on that or anything?
Well, I might just need a little bit of help with that. I'm thinking this is probably me trying to get out of it. Do I watch a little morning TV and then do it?
Yeah, it's totally up to you.
I would say allow myself maybe a half hour just to watch it and then do it.
Half an hour before you do your spiritual practice?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's all morning? Or just how long before the spiritual practice? And are you allowed to do like 2 minutes of spiritual practice and then go back to the TV?
No. I want to do an hour.
Okay, so half an hour before, an hour of spiritual practice.
Yep.
Okay. There you go.
And does she have to say how long does she have to do it for?
Oh yeah,
Like
how long are you going to do it for?
I want to do it for I'll start out with the 1 week and not be hard on myself.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Yeah, it's funny because that was my second one. I don't watch TV in the morning, but a better morning routine, not being tired when I wake up and having. So it's funny that was your main one.
Yeah, and the important thing is, hey everyone. Oh, that was good because I realized in the group, yeah, I was that I forgot to mention to make it measurable and time limited. So like in our group there was like, wanting to go to bed earlier. So it's like, okay, well, what time do you want to be in bed by? And for how long? And so, and it should be at least a week. So, I mean, at least it should go till the next session of ours, but it shouldn't be like forever because that's just, it makes it very, bigger than it needs to be. Because this is an exercise, right?
Oh, I took it as forever, but that's okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I'm bound to fail, but
you can do what you want. But the main thing here is that we're, it's a practice. So we want to observe what happens as we
Okay.
work with this.
okay.
Right? We want to observe, like, can we practice relax, release, lean back when the urge comes up to break this decision, right? So, it is really important to make it concrete and measurable so you know when you're breaking it. And it's not like, oh, I want to go to bed early. Oh, okay, well, it's 10 o'clock. Well, I can push it to 10:30. I can push it to 11 because, I mean, you can work with that knowing that you are breaking it when you're doing like working with that urge or whatever, but try and make it so that you know whether you kept it or not. So anyone want to share what their plan is? And I would ask you to also like make the decision now, what you're gonna do. Don't leave it. Karen?
Oh,
So it's so funny because Patrick made me very accountable right at the end of our session. And which is really funny. Now you say, make sure it's measurable. So what it was I said, I must get up earlier because I do like to meditate off the hop. And then, then I'm running around preparing my lunch and getting dressed and ready for work and then racing out the door. No, I forgot this, that, and the other. And I was like, you know what? This just sets the tone for the day. That's just not healthy. So my goal is to rise earlier. And so he goes, well, what time are you gonna set your alarm? And I was just like, ooh, this is like already feeling like making me anxious.
Good. Let the anxiety move through you. Let it do
Exactly.
its thing, right?
Oh yeah, it was perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you want to set a time?
6:30
There you go.
Yeah.
For how long?
for the week.
For the week. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. We don't
Yeah.
have a lot of time, so I just want to get to a few people here. Bob?
Yeah, get up every day at 6:30 for the week and
Excellent.
followed with a meditation every day this week.
Excellent. Excellent. Patrick?
No coffee, and I'm not going to check my phone and the news and all the stuff after I meditate. So
Great. For how long?
till next Thursday.
Okay.
Like no coffee at all for till next Thursday?
Nope.
Is that what you meant?
Yeah.
And that's not too much. That's moderate.
Well, I only drink a cup a day, so it's not that bad.
Okay. 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 Anyone else? You can just popcorn it out if you want.
Well, I also want to try and get up at 6:30 and stay off my phone, avoid social media, and so I can get to my meditation and practices. But I have been challenged with sleep, so but I'm gonna set the intention.
Well, you know what Yoda says. There is no try. Do or do not.
That's it. I like it.
Hey, dude.
Yeah, well, I wish you all, like have fun with this, right? When
Yeah.
the urge comes up, when be able to laugh at yourself. Don't take yourself too seriously, but also don't do your best not to break your decision. Stick with your decision, right? And just notice what happens. And then practice, relax, release, lean back. The number one thing really that you'll get out of this is the practice, because it's a really good way to practice, relax, release, lean back, because you know that this stuff's going to come up, and when it comes up, you're going to know that you should practice with it, right? So there you go. By the way, I wanted to mention, so like, we're not meeting next Thursday, we're meeting next Tuesday. So I just want to remind folks of that. Okay.
That means I only have to get up at 6:30 from now till Tuesday.
No, you said a week.
I know. I will.
You're already want to break your decision.
It's a short week. It's a short week. Yeah.
I had a question about, are you relaxing, releasing, leaning back on the hardship that you don't want to do it? Is that what you mean?
Well, because inevitably what's going to happen is you're going to want to break it. And at that moment when, so it's either an urge to do something or an aversion to doing something, like an aversion to getting up, or, an urge to, have the coffee or whatever it is. So whether it's a pull or a push, that, you want to let yourself feel that. You want to let yourself feel, whatever it is, because I guarantee there will be an emotion there. There will be, some discomfort there.
Or you wait till that discomfort about what you're supposed to do goes, so that then you do it? Or
No, you just practice with it. Relax, release, lean back. You don't have to wait for it to go. You can practice just for a few breaths or a few minutes, just the same way we practice with any, with the small stuff. The main thing here is that, it should be pretty apparent that this is something to practice with. And that that you stick with your decision. As long as you stick with your decision, it's a victory in this game. Okay, so just quickly, so the home practice this week is the open awareness meditation, the moments of center consciousness, the small stuff. I call this being captain of your ship. This exercise that we've been talking about it's all about being the captain of your ship. That's the big reward, is being the captain of your ship is wonderful. Makes you feel good. And then just to notice when your model of reality is challenged. So that's, we talked a lot about that. So just noticing throughout the week when your model of reality is challenged. And then there's a talk called One-Pointed Intention, which is all about whatever you decide, your mind and heart will question it. So decide and stick to it. Sticking to it is more important than the decision itself. So listen to that talk. Hopefully that'll help you to keep and to work with your action commitment. You're being the captain of your ship. So, and it's only a 25-minute talk. So we're at 9:15. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
week.
Have a good
Thanks, Lori. Thanks for sharing,
Bye.
everybody.
You
Thank
See you
you.
Tuesday.
Peace.